In today's session, we're going to be looking at digital envelope, right? So, what is a digital envelope, right? And before we kind of get started here, I just want to make highlight here that this isn't used anymore. This has been superseded by Diffie-Hellman, right? Because it's more secure, right? Um, but it's good to understand what actually is the digital envelope and why we don't use it and why it's less secure than Diffie-Hellman, right? So really kind of like, if you think about it, let's look at our TLS session that we've been looking at in our previous modules here. So we have our client on the left-hand side, we have our server, and it's in this instance, it's hosting multiple websites, right? And really, from our previous sessions, we kind of like discussed that it actually the TLS session actually has the handshake part, also has the finish part, and there's also the established secure channel at the bottom, right? Now, the first thing kind of here is that we discussed that the client hello sends that, and the client actually sends that hello packet offering the cipher seeds that it can do, and then the server selects the Pacific cipher suite and also sends its certificate back, right? Now, what the client here is going to do after that, it obviously verifies the certificate of the server, but what it actually does, it'll actually generate a master secret, right? And these are one of the input variables to actually getting us down to this established secure channel, right? And what it will then do is it's actually going to send it to the server. But what it actually does, it takes that pre-master, okay, and that's the pre-master. And what it does is encrypts it using the server's public key, which you got from the certificate that was sent back from the actual server. So then what actually happens is that actually goes over to the server, and then the server is able to decrypt the actual packet, okay, and extract the pre-master using its private key, right? Now, the digital envelope part comes in. That bit is the digital envelope, right? So the digital envelope is essentially what we're doing is we are taking some kind of data, some kind of packet, and we are encrypting it using the public key of the actual server. So therefore, the only person that can decrypt it is the entity that owns the corresponding matching private key, right? And that's what essentially a digital envelope is, right? It's, if you think about it, it's almost like an envelope. We can actually draw the envelope here, right? Because inside is actually the data, in this instance, the pre-master, right? And in some situations, what you can actually do is, instead of actually doing the pre-master on the left-hand side, is you can actually encrypt it using the shared secret, right? And essentially the shared secret is the actual symmetrical key that's actually used to encrypt the traffic back and forth, right? And that's essentially what a digital envelope is, right? Now, the problem with the digital envelope is that essentially the key, the symmetric key that we're using to encrypt the traffic is actually being sent across the wire, right? And that's not a good thing, right? And also, the other thing here is, let's say someone was on this side was to hack the private key, okay, the private key, right? Then what it could do is it could actually find out all the conversations that's going back and forth, all the historical conversations as well. And it really isn't supporting this whole notion of perfect forward secrecy, right? So that each session is unique, and if there was a compromise with the private key, that it couldn't really go back and look at all the history, all the previous conversations, right? So really a digital envelope doesn't really support that, and this is the terminology that typically was used associated with RSA. And the way you would determine whether you're using the digital envelope is one of the ciphers that is actually sent over. You will actually specify that that cipher would actually use an RSA or digital envelope, right? That's no longer the case. We don't use digital envelopes, but just to keep in mind, it does exist. That it's been deprecated, and today we use the more secure approach of Diffie-Hellman. Thank you.